What is going on, everybody? I'm your host, the Financial Conspirator, your guide for everything financials and conspiracies. Today is going to be a video that is way different from regularly scheduled program that you're used to seeing. We're digging into the conspiracy side of the Financial Conspirator. We have a very special guest. Comey is in the building. Zamint, Pan-Africanist, and a true leader in the space of everything black. Thank you for coming. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
So let's get right into business. Fuck the fluff.
And do you think most Americans, especially white America, is racist and against you to the degree
course,
that you're
most white Americans.
What percentage would you say?
The United States government boasts about the fact that it is a government where where the majority rules and the minority has to go along with the
what
majority.
degree of Americans?
So if you have an overwhelming majority of white folks who are so fair and good-hearted in America, why haven't your overwhelming majority of white folks stepped forward to do something about the wretched condition of black people here in America?
Oh, haven't we made some strides in terms of
No strides
since 1960? None at all.
No, let me say why I mean that.
I would like you to explain that.
During Reconstruction here in America, there was a civil rights bill passed at that time. Black people held all kinds of political positions, and it looked like a period of a turn after slavery for black people in this country. There was even a voters' rights bill, and all of that was passed. But when white folks got sick of that, they blocked the doors of Congress. They drove black people out of all the political positions. And so 100 years after that civil rights bill, another civil rights bill had to be formed and fashioned. Now we're debating and arguing with George Bush over the voters' rights bill. We already had one. That means it wasn't worth the paper that it was written on. Look at all the treaties that the white man signed with our brothers and sisters, the Red Indians. Treaties that would wrap around the globe and then some, and broke every treaty that he signed with the Indians. We can't trust that anymore. Can't trust it.
Let me ask you this. Why?
If we can't trust the Constitution, the Civil Rights Act, and all these other bullshit pieces of paper that the white man created, what are we expected to do?
Well, the reality is papers are only worth as much as they're kept alive, and whatever policies are written on those papers are kept alive. And there's forces that oppose what's written on those papers. And so if those forces are ever able to override what's written in those papers, well, then those papers mean nothing. Those papers are only there to sort of describe a policy, and that's really all the paper is. So really it's about force. So if you want democracy, you have to be forceful enough to keep that democracy alive. If you want a people's liberation or position to be secured, it has to be done by force. And so in the current state, the Constitution and the majority of the white government that supposedly supports that Constitution, it's really it's really a force matter. So it's depending on the U.S. government is depending on a majority white population. Depending on the U.S. in general is depending on a majority white population. And so obviously any smart black person thinks it's a stupid idea, and clearly it's shown that that's a stupid idea. So we should be seeing ourselves in general across the board as a totally separate entity, the same way Iran, North Korea, China, or Russia does. And we should see ourselves as a group that needs to defend itself against a clearly hostile force, which is the Caucasian population. So, again, it comes down to force. It comes down to the opposite side wanting to cause us trouble, and causing us trouble is a light way to put it, and us being able to make sure they can't do that regardless if it's on a paper or not. So at the end of the day, I'm probably going to say this a number of times. The only way in the modern world to be a truly independent force is to have weapons of mass destruction. It's a very plain thing. The white world doesn't listen to anyone who can't carpet bomb their cities out of existence. That's just the truth. If you can't send out a chemical weapon that kills millions of whites or hundreds of thousands at minimum at once, they're not going to listen. If you can't send out bombs that can kill hundreds of thousands at once, they're not going to listen. If you don't have a bioweapon that can kill hundreds of thousands at once, they're not going to listen. So at the end of the day, what we need is enough force to kill so many whites that whites think it's no longer in their interest to attack the black population because of the retaliation. Because the retaliation will be so great that they won't come to it just won't be worth it anymore. It'll be better for them to just mind their own business. So that's I'll pause there.
There's so many great points. One word I want everyone to remember is retaliation. Retaliation, retaliation. Enough of turning the other cheek. For the love of God and everything holy, how long are you going to turn the other cheek and just open your arms and accept these people as they stab you in the chest, shoot you with while your arms are up, while you're like, at what point, when does it turn from love and confusion to rage? Black people love to say, oh, if I was a slave back in the day, they would have had to kill me. They're killing you now. They're killing you now. And another point that you made that was excellent. It doesn't matter what piece of paper you hold up if they have a bigger gun than you. Do you really think they give a fuck about your First Amendment, your Fifth Amendment rights? They're grabbing people up off the streets, not identifying themselves, and sending them to a foreign country. Yeah, where is that in the Constitution? You know, fiat money is illegal according to the Constitution. It's supposed to only ever be gold and silver. If there are forces, and there are forces, those forces met today. Federal Reserve had a meeting today. So there are very real forces. This isn't just some made-up anti-Semitic, anti-white conspiracy theory. This is fact.
Pressing us, yada yada yada. We know this, okay? When they see this, they arrest those people, even though she knows she has the right, and she's saying it. I have the right. We have the right. Yada yada yada. What did I say in my last episode? You know your rights, but then you gotta stand on your rights. It's two parts to freedom. Knowing your rights doesn't mean nothing, especially in this world ran by devils. You're in a world that's ran by devils. Get this through your head right now. Devils run this. They don't understand your words. It doesn't click in them. It doesn't get through to them. Blood, revenue. That's the only thing that gets to. And this is history, 100%. I'm almost at a loss of words because I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say to you. But her knowing the rights is not going to stop anything. You got to stand on your rights. You see, that's what separates me from the 7 billion. And that's why I'm so powerful, because I stand on my rights. And if you go back to my episode, I give you an example of when I stood on my rights. If I'm peaceful protesting and they come up, that's why I don't go to protest, because I know I speak well, I'm articulate, I can motivate, I can inspire. And those are the ones they arrest. So I know they would try to arrest me. And I know I would die right there, because you're not going to kidnap me. I know my rights, but I stand on my rights. That's what separates me. That's why they're so afraid of me. They're like, no, because that's the key. If what I got in me, the courage, the tenacity, the bravery, if that spreads, then it's all over. Because that's what the revolution is. Once it gets to the point where people stand on their rights. It's not knowing your rights. Knowing your rights is nothing to a bully. It's nothing to a demon. It's nothing to a devil. You got to stand on your rights, just like George Washington did, just like all the other white rebels that they say, you know what I mean? And we celebrate and salute. That's what Nat Turner did. That's what Malcolm did. You got to stand, man.
There are more rights in this world than the rights that the white man gave you. There are natural rights. Someone kills your child. Do you think that it should be illegal for you to get justice for that child? Do you really think the white court system is going to give you white justice? Why must we conform to their rules? And even when we do that, we get bombed out of helicopters. We get our banks destroyed and money stolen. We get redlined so that our public schools are shit. Oh, but why is your IQ so low? I couldn't read or learn how to write for 400 years. You fucking. All right. Next point that I wanted to make. George Washington and the quote unquote revolutionists and the freedom fighters. Why is it only justice when the white man fights against his oppressor? Why is Rodney Hinton Jr., why is he evil? Why is Carmelo Anthony evil? What makes them fighting back not the same as George Washington fighting back against the British that were killing Americans? Blacks are
Well,
getting killed. Yeah,
yeah.
you can go.
Well, yeah, it's because the whites see themselves as a group and they see everyone else as an out group. So they're entirely fine with protecting their own group and their own interests. They just don't want anyone else's interests. It's animalistic at its core. And then after that, at this point, they've committed crimes against the black race that are just unforgivable. Like even any reasonable person is never forgiving those sort of crimes. I mean, we're talking about people who have basically tormented people from their birth to their death. Like if we're talking about what's happened for the last 400 years, especially before like 1930, we're talking about basically people being literally born, babies, being just born into someone's like crop yard, someone's cotton yard, and then being like tormented from the day they're born all the way till the day that they die. We're talking about people being taken away from their mothers and fathers, like the second that they're born,
From
and
even
then, like,
before they're
given to
born,
someone
in the
else.
womb.
Right. So we're talking about very bad stuff here. And then, we could go on and on about the rest. We're talking about people who have basically come into existence via rape and so on. These are just crimes that no one's going to forgive. And the whites know that. They know that deep down. No one's going to ever forgive that. No, you can do some brainwashing here and there, but at the end of the day, no one's going to ever really forgive that. So they know that they have a feeling that, if the black race ever rises, that it's going to be an existential threat to them. As in, like, the black race has all the justification in the world to want to genocide every last white living creature, whether it's 0 years old or 100 years old, and kill it off the planet. Now, whether that's really the goal or not for us, even as someone who's probably considered by most people to be a radical black nationalist, that's really just, it's impractical, only because I think weapons of mass destruction cause that to not ever happen. So yeah, we have all the justification to hate whites. Yes, certainly. But is it ever going to happen? I think they have all the nuclear weapons and all the radiation weapons and so on, all the other weapons of mass destruction. And thinking about it rationally, thinking about it long term, because I have thought about these sort of things. Even if we do have nuclear weapons, which I do believe we should have, we're still not going to wage a war against the white world, because it would just kill us both. So, that's still not enough for them. So when we think about why they want to attack the black race, it's for that reason. They've committed crimes, and they don't want the black race to rise, because we would hate them. We wouldn't be their friends. And then if you think about it on the current global scale, immediately we would just ally with Russia and China, which would tip the scale, and it would mean the West is doomed. Because if we have now a continent of resources alongside with the manufacturing power of China, and then we have the alliance with Russia as well, the West will eventually fall. It will not be the greater power in the world. They do not want that to happen. So they hate the idea of the black race rising because of how much of a threat it would be. So when we understand, if you think about it, about 5 American major cities like LA, New York, I think it's in Miami, 2 cities in Texas, I think. I can't remember the exact list, but about 5 cities in the U.S. contain like almost 40% to 50% of the U.S. economy or something like that. And if those cities were to like be taken down efficiently in a concentrated effort by the black population within the U.S., America would crash. It'd be the end of the American empire. They could not afford to be out doing any sort of military expenditures outside. They would have to focus in on their country to just fix the country and stop the damage that alone would do. So I don't think most black people even understand how much of a threat they can be to whites. and so they don't understand why whites are so adamant on keeping the black race down. So I think it is inevitable the black race is going to rise. And if you're asking why whites want to stop us, it's because they've used as enemy. They've used as an enemy. They've used as an existential threat because they've committed crimes, and they know no one with a brain is ever going to forgive them. So if we rise after they've done that, they may be in trouble. So at this point, I don't even ask whites, in a citizen type of way, well, why don't you get along with blacks or anything? I see exactly why they wouldn't get along with blacks. And we just have to win. We have to succeed by force and overcome anything that they, sort of attack us with.
It's white fragility. They know that only it takes 3%. It takes 3% of the black population. It doesn't take a million men. It takes far less than a million, and that's why I think they kill uh, anyone that gets anywhere close to that form of radical nature. And what you said before, 0 to 100, it doesn't matter. It's every single one. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not insane to say that, because the hashtag TND, the KKK, like, how many FBI leaks of police departments being in the KKK does it have to be? Like, it's still happening. These organizations still exist. So if black fascism is so wrong, if black fascism is so evil, if it's so against humanity, why does the KKK still exist? Like, you cannot account for this double standard. Like, there is no oh, but I know a few good ones, or my great aunt on my dad's side is white, so I really can't get behind that. Fuck you.
No, yeah, there's no moral argument at all. There's no moral argument on the white side, which is why they can't just accept the fact that they're invasive. You see, when you ask whites about these sort of like the KKK thing, or the imperial ambitions of the Anglos, and how they're they have their troops all over the place, they're robbing countries, they're assassinating people here and there. If you ask them, at least a typical white, the commoner white, they bring up all these like false moral arguments, and they say, well, we're there for this reason, we're there to actually help, it's good that we're there. Because if they acknowledge that they're the invasive one, that they're the problem, well, they're afraid of losing. Because if they lose but they feel like they're the good guys, well, at least they can fall back on, well, we were the good guys in this situation. But if they embrace and acknowledge the fact that we have full justification, they are the bad guys here, that we have full justification to do any bad thing to them, that would be tough for them, because then they would just lose and be the bad guys. No one wants to lose and be the bad guys, which is whites' main psychological trouble, and with the thing you said about the people who would sort of be proper voices and actually be radical. Well, the thing is, how about Russia, China, and North Korea, India, and Pakistan can say whatever the hell they want, do whatever the hell they want, and the West isn't over there cooing governments the way they did with, say, Libya, or with Malcolm X, or even MLK, Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, or even Middle Eastern governments. They're not
Thomas
doing that.
Sankara.
Yeah, Thomas Sankara. The list could go on forever, right? The reason why they didn't do the same thing they did to those guys to the other countries like China, North Korea, Russia, is because, again, those people are well defended. There's not a thing in the world the American government can do to them. If the American government ever tries to attack them in a total way, New York will die. Millions of white children, men and women, will fucking die of radiation death in New York and every other fucking major city in this Anglo hell. So they're all gonna die, and they can never make it out, which is why they can't attack them. So for the black race to be able to do what it has to do for itself, we again have to have weapons of mass destruction. The key to success for the black race is weapons of mass destruction. We have to be able to kill Anglos and Europeans in mass, or else they will never fuck off. It is the only thing. We have to be able to crash their economies and kill them in the hundreds of thousands or millions at once. It is the only way.
And they have to know that we can do that.
Correct. They have to know that we can do that in order for them to fuck off.
And I think before we even get to weapons of mass destructions, we have to have the unity of the Chinese. There's Chinatown in every major city, and it's only Chinese people. They're not fucking letting other people in, letting the Arabs in because they're not white. They're not letting Mexicans in because they're not white. I have nothing against Mexicans, okay? Like, they are not my focus. They are not my people. Why is that so wrong for me to say? Look at Chinatown. Go through Chinatown. I go to Chinatown in Boston. I'm the only black person walking around Chinatown when I'm in Chinatown. That's it. Like, why is that so evil and wrong? Why are our neighborhoods, why is MLK Boulevard fucking desolate and filled with homeless people? But that's okay. Well, why aren't white people living there? Why are we so quick to be inclusive and accept? And we shouldn't be so quick to be inclusive and to defend.
That when white people feel serious and angry and upset about abortion, they come out in the thousands up to the millions to say, this is what we believe about abortion. Where is the white outcry against white racism that murders African people all around this entire globe? It doesn't exist. So who are these white good people? I want to meet them. I want to see them. I feel it's not enough.
But that might be all we can get.
And guess what? I don't work with all I can get. The majority of millions of African youth in this country are dying mentally, dying spiritually, dying emotionally, dying academically. And if we are not honest enough to say who are our friends, who are our enemies, to know what a friend is, to know what an enemy is, we will constantly be trying to get into people's parties, to shake our butts with them, to get them to like us. And that's not the question.
We really beat that horse to death. If you have any more points on that, if not, we can move on.
Yeah, you see, the white commoners, there may be some whites who think that, who believe in having friendly relations and so on. Fantastic, great. Still, nonetheless, our race needs to be able to defend itself, and those whites clearly are not in power. So our race still needs to defend itself and not depend on any other group of people. You see, when those sort of conversations happen, what you have there is a willful black person and a sort of useless black person. The ones that are just sort of capitulators, meant to be subordinated, and we should never really include in our conversations. These sort of black people have to disappear from the world. We have to get rid of them en masse so that we can have a better black race of only strong-willed black people who want our own sovereignty and who want strength. We shouldn't be even conversing with these people. If these people want to be white people's pets so bad, well, what do they need us for? They can go be white people's pets right now. So if they're comfortable with this little scraps that whites want to give them, well, no need to converse with them. They already have what they want, right? The people who want something of sovereignty, people who want something of strength, well, those people want that. Let those who wish to be white people's pets, want to be their little sex dolls and whatnot, let them do that. In the day of victory, we will have the ability to get rid of them. And whites, I'm not sure, are so interested in these sort of people anymore. I think everyone is tired of the cucks and the coons. I think everyone wants to have no more of those. So I'll stop there.
I can't add anything to that.
So consequently, if we are to be empowered, and if our power is to work in our interests, then our consciousness must be an African consciousness. Our values must be African values. Our personality must be an African-based personality. If not, we may suffer first ethnocide and then genocide. What are we saying? It means that our culture will not be functional in a way that it protects our interests. We must then, as a people, develop a new African consciousness, an African-centered consciousness, And that means we must develop it based on an African history, African culture, and African values. Most of all, we must develop an African sense of nationhood.
And for all you foundational Black Americans out there who want to claim that America is your rightful land, that's fine. You're still Black. Where do you think Black people came from? All of humanity originated in Africa, you insolent people. I mean, how self-hating could you possibly get to reject Africa, your motherland, the homeland, and to claim this disgusting lie? Like, you want to build a nation on a lie. If you haven't seen Sinners, you need to see that movie, because as soon as I saw this scene, I couldn't believe. I mean, and that just shows the power of Black media. We get one movie. And how many years has it been since we've gotten a movie like that, where we get to see pigs getting turned into bacon? Since Django, we haven't had a scene like that. Like, even in the movies, we can't violently resist. You have to see that movie, even if it's just fictional. To even have that image in your mind is powerful. But back to the line, you cannot build anything of sustenance, anything of power, anything of truth on a lie. You were brought here in chains, and if you don't think you were brought here in chains, somebody was. This entire country was built on exploitation, and you want to stay here and build within that. I'm not against reparations and all that, but if you're anti-repatriation to Africa, you are anti-Black and you're anti-African, and your choice will be remembered on Victory Day.
Correct. You know, again, it's there's these sort of Black people who are just meant to be subordinated. You know, white country was built by whites, and people want tables or seats at tables they're not invited to and not wanted at. And, you know, that's just going to cause for, again, a subordinated position. I'm not sure there's much to converse with these people about, because I think there are just people who are just fine with that. There are certain people who are just fine with scraps, certain people who will buddy on with their enemy as much as they can until, you know, of course, the enemy turns on them, because that's their enemy. And they're fine with that. I don't think there's much we can say to those sort of people. They're fine with their subordinated position. It's like a cuck that enjoys being a cuck. They're just fine with it. There's not much we can say to those people. And again, it does come back to just the Victory Day, the day in which we can deal with these sort of people and get rid of every single person who's sort of buddy with their own enemy and cucked out and sort of working against our racist interests. We just have to have the ability to deal with them in a total way. Cannot defend their little coons, because that's really the situation. Whites will defend their coons, and we need to get whites out of the way so that we can deal with the coons. It's like if I come into your house and I build a bunch of traitors there, and I have a bunch of agents there, and then anytime you try to deal with them, I say that's a crime. You can't fight those people. That's really what's happening now. And you know, in that video, he was talking about culture as well and identity. You know, it's not just in the U.S. There's tribalists in Africa as well. All these people who are somehow more focused on some small identity that really fractures the Black race and don't see the greater picture. You know, whatever reason they claim. You know, people try to debate this and they say, you know, all this other nonsense. No. These people are traitors. They have some other focus than what's really important, which is, you know, a future of racial unity and racial power, where we can focus on things like space exploration. And we're not dealing with stupid things like the cracker race. So the only way we can get here is, again, by force. We need to shut up these tribalists. We need to shut up all divisionists. And we need a unitary power where the people in control have a racial identity in mind and have greater focuses in mind. And yeah, then we can have a much better world then.
Precisely. And I want to... Foundational Black Americans are still our brothers. They're just lost. Like, you made an excellent point. the enemy, the cause of this is still the white man. He has robbed us of a knowledge of self. We don't even know, African Americans don't even know where in Africa they're from. Like there's so much confusion and miseducation. I mean, it was a brilliant plan. You confuse them so much that they'll believe anything, and then they'll fight amongst themselves about what's the actual truth. It's brilliant. It's brilliant if you look at it from an outside sicko point of view. The thing is, they've been robbed of a knowledge of self. Their fault that they're and it's not Africans' fault that they think black man is the problem. It's told by who's telling them that black people are the problem? Who's telling black Americans they're the problem? You're right, that's an excellent point that has to be brought back
Well,
above all else.
when we speak of like FBAs, I don't mean African Americans. Like when I consider FBA, I consider like a specific subgroup of people who are like identifying with the Anglos. So I think there's populations all over the place that are populations all over the black race that are focused on the greater purpose. And I've never been someone who focuses on the masses. I think the masses are a bit too slow to understand these sort of things, and they're sort of just moved by white propaganda. And my thing is, anyone who's moved by white propaganda has bad genes, has a bad brain, and probably shouldn't make more of themselves. The problem is, the white tricks wouldn't have worked from the beginning if we didn't have the stupid people who are capable of falling for those tricks. And so I think the solution is to finally get rid of people who are stupid enough to fall for it. So anyone who's genuinely capable of just who's buying this nonsense about how like they actually belong with white people, and like, you know, that somehow that's the end goal. I just think that person's too stupid to continue on. I mean, maybe they'll get a wake-up call eventually, but if you have to wait until there's a wake-up call, something's wrong inside. So again, I just think there's different classes within the black race. There's different classes of people, more willful, stronger, and then there's everyone else. Well, I think we should just allow them to fall and cease existing at some point.
We do the China plan. We just wait and do nothing. They will implode themselves. They will realize that white people aren't their friends at some
So
point.
consequently,
They will realize that white people aren't their friends at some point. They'll either be dead by that point or will have won.
But I still, true. Not necessarily do nothing. I still believe these people should be dealt with in a forceful manner. But in a certain way as well, whites will show their own hand. It's just that I think there's so cucked that when whites do that, there's still going to be little cucks for the whites. But yeah,
and the 40 acres and a mules thing. If you haven't learned by now in history that the white man can give you something, and that'll be on a piece of paper, it'll be a law, and then in the next hand, write a new law to take that shit away. What are you? If they they give you $20,000 for every black person, and then they print 50% of all dollars in existence the same year. What good was that reparations package? Like, waiting and praying and protesting and begging for some sort of equality. When are you going to realize that the white man's equality is not the same equality as everywhere else? Okay. We're not talking to someone with a conscience. We're not talking to someone with any sort of semblance of remorse. How much in reparations did the Jews get? For how many years were they where they were? 400 years. Okay, that money didn't disappear. And for the white people who say, "Oh, I didn't own any slaves," do you think that the wealth produced from 400 years of free labor disappeared in thin air? It wasn't passed down through land, trust funds, companies. you're not going to get anything. And if you do get something, it will be something that they control. There is no survival from within.
Correct. Without the force to defend what you have, you don't really have it at all. So if it's given to you and you don't have the force to make sure it can be taken back, you don't really have it at all. That's what they know. And anytime, what they'll try to do is try and make people feel like they have it, feel like it's secure, so that they don't realize how easily it can be taken from them. So that's another trick they go along with.
Yeah. They never got rid of the plantation. They just made it really, really big. You could drive a car on it. You can buy property on the plantation. It's still a plantation. You still have to pay taxes. I mean, you are still a slave, buddy.
Why should I have respect for you if you don't equally respect me in that vein, if you look at yourself as far superior to me?
I am not one who would just look at myself far superior to you, but let me point this out to you. White people teach that they are the father of medicine, the father of music, the father of history, the father of philosophy, the father of the sciences, the father of all of the disciplines of the world. I think that is a very ethnocentric and a very racist, white supremacist view. They teach us that angel food cake is white, devil's food cake is black. You wear white to weddings and you wear black to funerals. It's not good to lie, buddy, but if you must lie, it's all right if you tell a little white lie. If one is the black sheep of the family, blackball you, blackmail you. If I go to the pool room for a little game of pool, you got a white shiny ball on the table, knocking the hell out of the black ball, the brown ball, the red ball, and all of the balls of color. And the worst ball on the table is the black ball. If I go to church, you've got a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pale-skinned white Jesus, when the Bible says that Jesus is a man with nappy hair and black skin. So white supremacy runs throughout every phase of white society the world over. So my position on this show this morning is not to establish some grandiose and way out black supremacy, but to fight white supremacy and meet it head on.
Well, you know, what was going on there would seem like a white person who is trying to, I don't think really knows what's going on. I think the white common and the white elite are very different. And the white elite are the ones who know what's going on. They just want more stuff. They just don't want the black race to rise. And they know that they put efforts in to stop that from happening. Through the media, through weaponry, basically. Really, really forget all the rest. It's really through weaponry. So, you know, I mean, there's almost no point talking to a commoner white about these sort of things because they don't really know what's going on anyway. And they don't have any power anyway. And they have these moral confusion going on. There's really no point in talking to them about it. The only people who really know what's going on are the people who are actually in charge. And the only way to deal with the people who are in charge, again, is just weaponry. It's just about being able, again, I mean, I'm going to say it a couple times here, but being able to nuke those fuckers. If you can't hit them with a bioweapon, you can't destroy their economy, they don't fuck off. So these sort of whites and their sort of moral nonsense and acting like they're the victim, and whites and blacks are trying to, you know, claim that we're the supreme race or something. This is just the false moral lies they're giving themselves to feel better about, you know, sort of crimes they've committed in the past, or at least act like they're not the villains in this case, as though the black race rising is somehow evil and it's like you know, some injustice to white people or something.
What happened to our women? Women who could have been doctors or lawyers or teachers or mothers. Who's going to raise our children? What happened to our men? Men who could have been mathematicians, electricians, physicians. What happened to what's the little boy going to do when he's looking for his father and his father's downtown in jail? What's the little girl going to do when she's looking for her mother and her mother's out there selling herself on the street? No, I'm telling you, that devil has made dead souls out of you and I. You're dead. You're dead spiritually. You're dead to the knowledge of yourself. You're dead to the knowledge of your people. And you're dead to the knowledge of your God. Why, my brothers and sisters, he should get down on his knees. He should beg our mercy. Oh, my brothers and sisters, his kind has committed God's greatest crime against your and my kind every day of his life. He ought to get on his knees and say he's committed the crime. But does he?
So when he says that we've completely lost, we're dead to the knowledge of our God, again, I'm going back to Sinners. If you watch that movie and you think this is voodoo, this is evil, you are so beyond repair. I'm trying to, like, you are so far gone that you are the person that's not worth talking to. If you think that African spirituality, if you think that recognizing yourself, or if I say that I'm God, or if I say that Comey is God, if that's blasphemous to you, you've been brainwashed by the white man. Your skin is a battery to the sun. The sun brings life onto earth. Soil grows, flowers, trees, where we need to have oxygen. It causes rain. Every single thing that we need, the sun is like it. I'm not being blasphemous here. I'm saying the sun is our God, and the sun loves you. If that's not proof that you are special in some sort of way, and you can't recognize that, if that's blasphemous to you, then there's something wrong. There's something seriously wrong. You are so beyond special. You can stand in the sun and not get blisters and turn it like, you are so far beyond loved by whatever you believe in, the universe, God, the sun, Abatutie. Like, to write those people off who believe in African spirituality, that's, you're writing yourself off. You're writing your history off. You're writing your great-great-grandfather off. It's self-hatred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the culture obviously is now controlled by Caucasians. They've infected whoever they can infect with coonery and sort of self-hatred. So, I mean, there's not much you can do with those people. These are people who are sort of just followers, and you can only make them worthwhile once you have the ability to influence them. But I think we should, these people are the sort of people who, when the government is already established and then you promote good propaganda to them, then they begin to change and become better people. But I think this is why I don't believe in democracy. This is why I don't believe in liberty for all. I believe liberty should belong to the righteous, and the people who should have a say in what's happening in the world, for our race, are the people who are loyal and have a certain, ability to just be loyal throughout, the strong-willed people. Because we can't trust people who, with a little bit of propaganda from the whites, will basically be self-destructive. I think those are, again, like, weak people. And, in a future, I believe we should have something that is akin to an aristocracy, or is an aristocracy, where there's a ruling elite of probably about 5% of the population, the 5% of the population that sort of never fell for the stupid tricks that whites promoted to the black race. Because, that's really all that matters, in a world where you have to already be in power. Because if we think about it like this, we have to already be in power to get control of the media. Because how do you change the narrative, and how do you change the media that people are seeing? You have to be in control over the media. So I think, if we have to already be in power, then these people are useless to us. They're going to help us at all to get into power. So if we've already got into power, we did it by ourselves. So I think the only people who deserve that power are that 5%. If then we choose that we should, try to help these people who are so gullible, then fine, that'll be our choice. But me personally, I think we should move on from this, these sort of people that are so easily moved by white propaganda. Me personally, at least, that's my view. And with that, I think it'll be harder to fall for this ever again. Because if we think about it, when the whites invaded the continent the first time, they did it with tricks. So before weaponry. So
The Bible.
We have to be able to stop that from happening ever again. You know, and as to religion specifically, I myself am not religious. I myself am rather atheist, in fact. My view is that, again, I'm purely scientific with things, in the sense that race first and have enough technology and weaponry to carpet bomb whites out of existence if necessary. That's the key to our success. You know, because at the end of the day, the reason why whites like to throw all this other stuff around and whatnot about why they've been able to do this. But at the end of the day, the reason why the American government can do the sort of things it's doing is not because they're white or because they're blonde or whatever. It's because they have F-35s.
Yeah.
It's because they have F-22s. It's because they have ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles. It's because they have the nuclear bombs, the neutron bombs. They have the bioweapons. That's really what it is. None of the other stuff matters. Really, it really doesn't. It's about the technology, the cutting edge technology. It's about the fact that the B-2s, they cannot be tracked. Well, really, they can be tracked. Now they're lying about that, actually, but you know, they can be tracked by like some countries. But really, it's the cutting edge technology that they
Hypersonic
have.
missiles, undefendable.
Right. That's what allows them to do all this.
And
what we need is that.
And control of the monetary system. If they
But
can't beat you in a war and they can turn your fucking dollar off, they can turn your bank account off. Good luck. As soon as you run out of bullets, good luck trading with anybody. We need it. That's where reparations fall short again. I don't see.
Yeah.
U.S. dollar. If we're still using U.S. dollars, we haven't won yet.
Certainly, the only way the U.S. dollar is really kept afloat is by military force, though, because you know who's stopping Iran from trading? If you blockade Cuba and stop, you know, any ships getting in there, why can't someone just bomb the fuck out of your ship and say, "Get the fuck out of the way, Americans"?
Yeah,
it's by force. It's because the technology outdoes. So really, once you have the technology that can say, "Go fuck yourself," you know, if you dare try to block my ship from trading with China, if you say, "Oh, we can't use the U.S. dollar," well, fine, we're going to use our own currency. I'm going to trade with China. You get in the way with your ships. I'm going to bomb the fuck out of them. That's the only way to deal with these Americans. I mean, it's it. The money, whatever, it's defended by force. We have to, I mean, just use blunt force. If we want our sovereignty, blunt force. We have to tell the Americans, fuck off, or we can bomb the fuck out of everything you have. That's what's gonna stop them. Now, you know, I don't want to throw everyone off and make everyone think it's specifically like nukes or something like that. Nukes are good, but there's other options. If you have the ability to cause mass disruption to the Anglos, they will fuck off. Am I saying this should happen? No. In fact, the key thing to understand about weapons of mass destruction is that once you have them, people don't want them to be used. So actually, this would be causing peace. It would cause peace because of what you call mutually assured destruction.
Yep.
So if the whites know, the Anglos specifically know that, well, they have this weapon of mass destruction now. If they release this toxin, it's going to kill millions of people and destroy our country. Well, fine. We're not going to attack them because now they're a part of the weapons of mass destruction club. So there's no point in attacking them because it's just going to kill us as well. So it would bring peace and it would bring order in the world and it would bring our race sovereignty.
Yeah. And just to make sure everyone's not all doom and gloom, you don't need nukes to cause a little resistance. Look at anywhere in the Middle East. Look at Cuba going over to help South America. They didn't have nukes. They had Russia, a few old Russian jets, some tanks, and they held off. The largest tank battle since World War II was Cuba versus the West. Not in Cuba, just going to help out because my people need help.
I hope that didn't sound like doom and gloom because we have the full capability to have weapons of mass destruction. I like to put out there, without saying too much, that if you were to have a bioweapon version of Ebola, if you were to take that Ebola virus and you were to grow it in, say, humans, like let's say you took one human, put the virus in them, and let it spread, or find an animal that could actually host the virus as well.
Right.
And then you have just gallons and gallons and gallons and, let's say tons of this virus. Well, at that point, if that virus was to be spread in every American major city, well, within days, let's say a concert or something, and then just hundreds or thousands of people caught the virus at once, that number would multiply day by day. And one day it would be, within days, perhaps millions of people would have this virus now. So, when you think of weapons of mass destruction, I don't want everyone to just think nukes. Because when you think of weapons of mass destruction, you're only thinking nukes. When in reality, there's a plenty number of ways to equate to that number of deaths that nukes would cause. So, I'm not suggesting anyone do that. Of course, I'm just putting it out there that, this is how I'm trying to, for anyone who thinks, well, nukes are the only way. No. There are other methods. That's why I was mentioning while I said nukes, bioweapons and toxins and radiation and so on.
Yeah.
So there are other methods.
And we're talking about urban warfare. That's why they haven't dropped a nuke yet, because when you're doing urban warfare, you're going to hit your own base. And if you drop a nuke, it's absolute total destruction. So just a few black men in every neighborhood, one black man in every major city, 4 black men in every major city with an AK-47 can cause mass destruction, which is why I think anyone who preaches pro-gun, pro-black, pro anything, it immediately taken out, either censored because they have control again, or health-wise taken out. And it won't just be by getting shot. It'll be, he fell ill, or we found his body parts over here, and you'll never get an explanation out of it. So urban warfare, it's not like you need to go home and make a pipe bomb. Just see what it takes to get registered to own. Like, do something. Doesn't take much to become an extremist in their eyes.
Well, the last point is, I do think that a regular war, a regular conflict would not be ideal. Like, I don't think that would be in our interest. I do believe it would have to be very asymmetrical, in a sense that doing things that are very, very lethal
and organized.
Because if you're fighting with guns or regular tanks or something like that in the modern day, it would be rather because we would be outgunned. So I'm saying that it is almost necessary to have very bad strikes, bad as in very very deadly, very, very bad for the entire system. That would be the way to ensure there is not a conflict, because we need to have that ability, right? I mean, for now, yeah.
George Jackson, in his book Blood in My Eye, he wrote this while he was in prison. He said, if we start a revolution and it fails, and it just so happens that more black people die than white people, black people are already getting killed every day and nothing happens. At least white people joined in the dying for once. But I do understand that it would be a fruitless, it wouldn't, we're just losing soldiers. I get that we're just losing, we're losing, and there's already so few of us. We need Christopher Dorner. We need Gavin Long. We need Micah Xavier Johnson. We need Rodney Hinton Jr. We need these people. So I get that. Crashing out, getting 1 or 2 pigs is nowhere near the victory that Victory Day is in itself.
Yeah, certainly. Because, it'd be much better to be in government and have the ability to clear out millions of coons than to like get a cup of crackers or something like that.
You want to drop your Twitter and your
Oh, yeah,
Instagram, YouTube, and all that?
Yeah, it's all Comey Gannon, KOMIGAGNON, on every platform.
On everything.
Mm-hmm.
You heard it, folks. It's been the Financial Conspirator. Make sure you like the video, share, subscribe, do all that good jazz. Hopefully we can make another one of these. Let me know in the comments if you guys want to see this happen again. I'm out. Peace.